You're listening to Southern Fried Sports with Travis Reier on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. GHD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. A Town Square Media station. This is Southern Fried Sports with Bama Online senior analyst Travis Reier on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Make it through this year, I think I'm gonna put this bottle down. I guess as time goes on, I'll grow to miss it less than I will now. And I think I'm gonna tell her that I'm gonna go away for a while, till I can get this demon out.
It is 11 a.m. on a Friday morning. It is time once again for Southern Fried Sports on your home for University of Alabama Athletics. Tide 100.9 FM. Travis Reier, senior analyst for BamaOnline.com, part of the 247sports.com network. But from this time, each and every weekday morning, 11 a.m. until noon, we are with you once again on the home for University of Alabama Athletics. The show, as always, brought to you by Peterbrook Chocolatier, 1530 McFarland Boulevard North in the Indian Hill section of Tuscaloosa. Still got a few precious few slots left in those summer camps. You can get involved right now at 205-752-0211. Don't hesitate. Make the call right now. Get those summer camp plans handled. They can take care of you there at Peterbrook Chocolatier. Joined on the program by the executive producer of Southern Fried Sports, Jacob Harrison. And together, we combine to form the 60-minute band of Sports Talk Radio. What about it? Jacob, how are you doing on this Friday morning?
Gearing up for a weekend. Going to go down to Baldwin County, visit with the family for a little bit.
You got to check in on that Theodore High School football coach that apparently was brawling down at the docks while you're down there. Can you get some insight on that for us?
I think I'm going to stay away from him.
Is there anything more Baldwin County than that, Jacob?
Hey, Theodore is Mobile County now. We don't own that.
Jeez. I tried to slide him in there. I tried to slide him into Baldwin. You're right. That is over on the other side there. But, wow, we haven't really even touched on that story. You know, like that story, Rush Probst, it got him out of the headlines there for a day or so. Speaking of a guy who has spent some time in South Alabama, Rush Probst. I don't know what it is, man. What is it about the water down there? Come on, guys. Come on, you can't be at the docks brawling. Can't do that if you're a head football coach of a high school team of some note. We got a lot to get to on the program today. First of all, Jacob Harrison, I'm in full bachelor mode as the chocolate lady and the youngest daughter semi-impulsively decided, you know what? We need to go check in on the oldest daughter before she makes the move back to the mainland. So as I do this program, the chocolate lady and the youngest daughter in the air on their way to Honolulu, Hawaii. So here I am. No invite for me, Jacob. You know, just stay back and work, old man. Yeah, that's your reward as you get into your 50s. We're jetting off to Oahu. Hold it down. How about that? So that's yours truly here for the next week or so. We'll see how that goes. I did get in the walk this morning. I have maintained some semblance of self-discipline here in the first 3 or 4 hours of my renewed bachelorhood. So we'll see if we're able to maintain that as well. 205-342-9904. That is the Peterbrook Chocolatier studio line. If you'd like to jump on board with us, busy weekend on the Diamonds in Tuscaloosa, AL. It started last night for the Alabama baseball team. Unfortunately, It ended in defeat. Game 1 of that Alabama-Mississippi State series goes to the visiting Bulldogs 4-2. Alabama with a 1-0 lead heading into the final third of that contest, but the Bullies with a 4 spot in the 7th. And the Crimson Tide, we worried about this stretch, right? A couple weeks ago, we told you Vandy, road trip LSU, Mississippi State to close out the regular season. You knew it was going to be a defining gauntlet. To this point, Alabama is 1-5 in 6 games in that 3-series stretch. With 2 to go, get back after it this evening at the Joe. A lot on Dylan Smith. Got a good start from Tyler Ross last night. I mean, if you get a college pitcher that goes 6+ and gives up 4, you feel okay about that start. That's a quality start in college baseball, but the bats just not getting it done. Alabama struck out 15 times last night, and you tip your cap to the Mississippi State 1-2 punch that the Bulldogs ran out there last night, but 15 Ks. Got to put the ball in play. Got to put some kind of pressure on that defense, and you're not doing that with a lot of strikeouts, a lot of swings and misses for Alabama. Alabama's 1 through 5 hitters last night combined 2 for 15 with 9 strikeouts. Going to be tough to win games in the Southeastern Conference like that. Again, though, game 2 set for this evening at the Joe. You've got a matinee tilt tomorrow afternoon that will cap the regular season, and we'll see where Alabama sits. Right now, 12-15 in the league, 29-20 overall. So very much teetering, perhaps stepping across the wrong side of that line where NCAA regional hopes are concerned. You can change a lot of that, though, tonight and tomorrow. A span of really less than 24 hours. You can go from outside NCAA regional play to squarely inside. You win these 2, you get to 14-15 in the league, headed into Hoover, you feel pretty good about things. 205-342-9904. Hey, Alabama softball, obviously a big part of the news cycle coming up here over the next few days. Alabama hosting that Tuscaloosa regional. I had a lot of fun talking with Michelle Smith of ESPN yesterday, the 2-time Olympic gold medalist, Michelle Smith. Got some good insight from her. Alabama and Alabama State set for 5 Central this evening. That is an SEC network affair. You're going to also have Clemson and Troy. So your winners of Bama State and Bama, Clemson and Troy will meet tomorrow, and you'll go from there. Alabama, what was the stat I saw for Alabama win streak in regional play? Isn't it like 40 straight Alabama's won in regional action? Crazy. Really, really good at home, as we know. And this is an Alabama State. The question that we've asked really throughout the week is, do you bring the hammer? Do you throw Montana Fouts against Alabama State tonight? And we asked Michelle Smith about that yesterday. And the feeling of Michelle Smith was you keep throwing your hammer. You don't even risk the potential of dropping into the losers bracket. I will say this, though. We talked about this with Corey throughout the week. The run rule should be in effect for Alabama tonight. This is a Bama State team that Alabama has seen twice this season and has outscored in those games a combined 21-3. Both of those going just 5 innings. Both were 5-inning run rule affairs. So something to consider there. You know, I mean, your offense has got to you've got to get it done offensively, obviously, but it hasn't been much of a problem. Alabama has scored at least 10 runs against Alabama State in each of those 2 games this season. And Jacob Harrison does confirm, in fact, 40 straight regional wins for Patrick Murphy's program since 2007. 205-342-9904. We won't talk much about the Atlanta Braves. The up and down, mostly down, though, Atlanta Braves. I guess if you want to be optimistic, Dansby Swanson looks like he's getting it going a little bit. You're hopeful that William Contreras is going to continue to trend in an upward way as the catcher of the future, maybe the the present perhaps for Contreras. He's been really good with the injuries that the Braves have had behind the plate. But the Braves drop an extra inning affair at Truist Park last night. Got that weird, wacky. In fast pitch softball, they used to call it putting the runner at second base once you got the extra innings. I believe it was called the international rule because it was used in international play in fast pitch softball, World Cup type games, national tournaments, tournament play in general, really. But you got it now in Major League Baseball, and the Pirates obviously took better advantage of that situation in the 10th last night than did the Braves, who the Braves had their guys up there in the bottom of the 10th and went out with a whimper in a 6-4 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates. We've also got Tim Tebow mania cranking back up. Tim Tebow going to wear that number 85, Jacob, for our Jacksonville Jaguars. And did I see this correctly? Adam Schefter with a tweet this morning that Tim Tebow merchandise, Jaguar merchandise, was number 1 in like 10 or 11 different categories where NFL merch is concerned here in the last 24 hours or so. Wow. Whatever you think of Tim Tebow, man, he's got pop. And I'm talking about it was men's merchandise sales and women's with Tim Tebow. And I'm on record. Tim Tebow will be on the 53-man roster when the Jags head to Houston for the 2021 season opener. This isn't a publicity thing. You really think Urban's going to cut his guy? Really? You think Urban's going to cut his guy? I mean, it may only be a one-year thing. He signed the one-year deal. But I just have a hard time seeing Urban send that message to his guy, Tim, bring the playbook. Difficult time envisioning that scenario. We're going to talk with Charlie Potter coming up in a little bit as well. My colleague there at BamaOnline.com. Charlie's got 10 Alabama football juniors you should know about heading into the 2021 season. We'll go through some of those with Charlie. I can already envision a lot of those guys being on the defensive side of the ball, but we'll go in depth with that and more with Charlie Potter coming up in just a little bit. We've got PGA Championship talk to get into. Pops coming up later in the program, but first, let's go out to the state of Texas and check in with our pal Cowboy on the Peterbrook Chocolatier studio line. Cowboy, how you doing this morning?
All right, Travis. How about yourself?
Hanging in there, my man.
I was wondering. I think Urban's in this deal with Tebow. Boy, the national former players that are on that Talking Head network, they're giving this move. They're ripping it, man. Hey, the guy said this morning, "Hey, Keyshawn, I believe you could play tight end better than Tim Tebow." And I'm afraid that this move, Urban could lose the locker room over this deal. I don't know. It might take away from Trevor Lawrence. I know you're close down there in Jacksonville. This national media, they're in the environment we live in right now. This thing here is going south on Urban. I'm telling you, it doesn't. They're just ripping him.
Yeah, I think it just underscores the fact that Urban lives in such a vacuum that he really either doesn't hear it, or even if he does, it doesn't impact him in any kind of way. This has been coming. We've been talking about Tim Tebow to the Jags because we first caught wind of this back in February. So this isn't something that they just sort of dreamed up. It was like when Urban got the job, he already had in mind Tim Tebow being a part of this team. And, it's almost like Urban still thinks he's got 85 scholarships to give out. You know what I mean? In terms of roster management. And in the NFL, we only have 53 or so. You're talking about a difference in 32 players. So you don't have spots to hand out like hard candy, Cowboy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This deal could go like Spurrier's deal went at the
Yeah.
Redskins if he doesn't watch it. You know, Spurrier wanted to play Shane Matthews all the time, and that didn't go over.
Yeah.
That didn't go over well. Oh man, I don't know.
The thing that Urban has working for him is Trevor Lawrence. And I've said this before. We can talk about Urban Meyer. We can talk about Tim Tebow. At the end of the day, the arc of this franchise hinges on the development and play of Trevor Lawrence. Everything else is just noise. And I think Urban's ego loves it. Urban's ego, he loves this stuff. And so, but your point about the locker room is one I've talked about in the past with this situation, not only in terms of credibility of a sense of favoritism right out the gate that you're just bringing in your guy, even though everybody in that locker room knows he shouldn't be in the league, but also your personal relationship with Tim Tebow. You're coming in as a new coach, and I don't care if you have won 3 national titles in college. You still have to win the trust of professional players. They already look at you with a sort of leery eye, okay? And when you bring your guy in, who already in the eyes of a lot of people in that locker room and that organization in general don't feel like he should be in the position he's in, you start wondering what the motivation really is. Is he there as eyes and ears in the locker room for Urban Meyer? Do you have to really be guarded about what you say around this guy? How are you being evaluated? Is there being input provided by things that you may do or say when you think you're in the sanctuary of the locker room? There's a lot of things that could come into play here, Cowboy.
Oh, you're definitely right. I don't know. Tebow's got a great life as it is now. You would think maybe he's about ready to start a family or something. I mean, he's not going to really make that much more money off of this deal. I mean, what do you think?
I think you just said it. I think he's in a position where if he wants to give something like playing again a shot, just like with baseball, he can do that.
Mm-hmm.
He's in that great position. But I've said this before about Tim Tebow too. The best thing he ever did was stay for that final year at the University of Florida, because his legacy was always going to be as a college football player, and with that, a Florida Gator. And all of this is being afforded to him by that tie, right? He played for Urban Meyer at Florida. His work on the SEC network. That's all because he's former Heisman Trophy winner and Florida Gator, Tim Tebow. It all goes back to his college career. So, that was the best thing Tim Tebow ever did. Was, and it probably wasn't that hard of a decision, but there was talk about it at the time. Would he come back for that 4th year? And he absolutely should have, and he did. And everything else has kind of been laid out for him from that.
Yeah, I was reading about him the other day. I forgot he tried out for the Eagles. Chip Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
You would have thought he'd have made that deal. He didn't. Then the Patriots. I said, well, he'll make this one.
No.
But,
no. I mean, he's just not enough of a passer. In a number of different ways to be an NFL quarterback. And, with the Chip Kelly thing, you think, well, there's more maybe zone read and RPO stuff, but a lot of that gets taken away in the NFL with the 1-yard rule for linemen being able to go downfield. That changes things and the influence of that a good bit when you look at the NFL.
Yeah, it's just, I hope it works out well, but I'd hate to start my career. Yeah.
He's a great guy, great person by all accounts. It's not about that, but yeah, I mean, it's a little bit, it's a little bit concerning, I would say.
Yeah.
But the good thing is Tim Tebow's not playing quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. At the end of the day,
right.
Trevor Lawrence is.
There you go. That's the number one key. And our boy, Mr. Las Vegas, or whatever you want to call him, Gardner Minshew, is still there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Gardner.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing. Have you been to that course there where the PGA is being played, and then can Phil Mickelson hang in there?
I know. I have been to Kiowa Island. I have not played that golf course, but it is everything you see on television. It's that, and then about twice as much. It is gorgeous, and Phil's hanging in there. He's 4 under for the tournament, 2 under once again for the day. He was a little bit up and down when watching the coverage earlier today, but there he is, tied for second right now, and just 2 shots behind Brandon Grace, who is at 6 under and in the lead.
That'd be awesome. The networks would love that if he could get them some ratings tomorrow and Sunday.
Well, the networks, depending on JT and Rory later today, and some other guys, they may need Phil Mickelson this weekend.
Yeah. Well, look forward to hearing Pops later. Y'all talk some good Jacksonville stories.
Oh, gosh.
He's
Somebody's
awesome.
looking forward to that. All right, Cowboy. We got a picket line story we're going to get out of Pops today.
Okay.
Yeah,
what
so
time
tune
is he
in.
coming on?
He'll be on about 11:45, his typical spot there, hitting cleanup. Yeah. Pops.
He's going to clean the
Thanks,
bases.
Cowboy. Well, the thing about Pops hitting cleanup is you usually have to clean up after him, but we put him in there anyway.
All right.
Thanks, Cowboy. Always appreciate the phone call. Yeah. The Tebow talk emanating from Northeast Florida. We're going to head to a break. When we come back, Charlie Potter does an outstanding job for us covering the Alabama Crimson Tide at BamaOnline.com. We'll talk Crimson Tide with Charlie when Southern Fried Sports, presented by Peterbrook Chocolatier, returns right after this.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Breezy and very warm this afternoon with a good supply of sunshine. The high 89. Fair tonight, the low 63. And the heat cranks up over the weekend. Mostly sunny tomorrow and Sunday. The high tomorrow at 91. Sunday's high at 93. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 79 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9. For more coverage of Alabama football, visit us at Tide100.9.com or download the free Tide 100.9 app.
The Crimson Tide will not be denied. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. All right. Got to know how to hold it. Like on him and rolling. Mashed potato. Do the alligator. Put your hand on your hips, yeah. Let your backbone slip. Do the 1, 2 say. Like my little Lucy. Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Back with more of a Friday edition of Southern Fried Sports Radio here on Tide 100.9 FM. Travis Ryer, senior analyst for BamaOnline.com, with you each and every weekday morning from 11 a.m. until noon. The show, as always, brought to you by Peterbrook Chocolatier out there at 1530 McFarland Boulevard North in the Indian Hills section of Tuscaloosa. Let's go to the Peterbrook Chocolatier studio line right now. Check in with Charlie Potter, a longtime veteran now of the Alabama beat. Does an outstanding job for us there at BOL, covering all things Alabama Crimson Tide. And with that, Charlie, we'll just try to stick to Alabama because our Braves let another one get away last night over in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every time I talk to you on this show, it's never a good thing about the Braves. So, probably for the best.
Oh, man. Oh, but Dansby Swanson might be picking it up, so that could be a good thing. Just maybe I wonder if he can work in relief. Can he pitch, Dansby Swanson?
Yeah, that would
might
be
be
something. Good. But they just need consistency. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And to see him do that, it's a positive sign. I mean, if everybody could play a little bit like Acuna, would be better off. But yeah, I mean, maybe throw him out there as a pitcher, see how he can do.
Yeah, somebody. I'm actually blaming that loss last night on my nephew. He was in attendance, so he gets that one. We'll go ahead and just assign that to him, and keep it moving. But Charlie, as we move through the month of May and kind of look ahead to another college football season there at BamaOnline.com, we're doing our best to keep the Alabama fans abreast of what might be coming their way as fall camp gets underway in August and you move into the season there on Labor Day weekend in Atlanta, Georgia against the Miami Hurricanes. Comings and goings with the roster. It seems like it's been a little bit of a revolving door. How would you describe the situation in terms of expectations coming out of spring practice and the kind of movement we've seen, some landing spots for guys who have moved on here, and then Alabama on the other side working the transfer portal as far as incoming guys are concerned?
Yeah, I always think it's interesting just to see the shape of the roster throughout the course of the off season, and spring practice is kind of one of those benchmarks because guys wait, they go through spring drills, and they kind of see maybe what it would be like in the fall for them. And the biggest one we've seen since spring practice in terms of positions and attrition has been the cornerback spot, and I think that says a lot about just the depth that Alabama has there. Obviously Josh Jobe is coming back as the starter. Pat Surtain's now with the Broncos, so you have to replace him. And Jalen Armour-Davis did a really strong job of that. I think he put himself in a position to open up preseason camp and maybe be the game one starter there opposite of Josh Jobe. But we saw some young guys like Marcus Banks and even true freshmen like JaQuincy McKinstry, do some really nice things in the spring. For the most part, the guys that left, Ronald Williams and Brandon Turnage, were with the threes. I think they could still compete and be guys on special teams, be reserves in that regard. But it makes sense for them, to move on. Alabama has to get under that number 85 mark. They're not there yet, so you see guys leave, and it makes a lot of sense. But I think it also says a lot about the defense. So they're going to have to be some other guys to hit the portal. That hasn't happened yet. But I just think when you look at the roster, really, what they've done from losing guys, it makes sense. Positions like linebacker, defensive back, and then you're even bringing in more linebackers with Henry To'oTo'o to compete there opposite of Christian Harris and to bolster an already impressive defense. And then you got a guy like Jameson Williams at wide receiver. So I think they've kind of addressed their needs. Again, though, I mean, it's not done. The transfer portal is here to stay. It's going to be kind of the word of the day, it seems like, for some weeks in the off season. But I think for the most part, Alabama's used to losing players. Nick Saban talked about it whenever the one-time transfer rule was brought up. They're going to lose players, but they're going to retain their best, and they're going to go out and get other good players from other teams now. So I think that's what we're starting to see with this new kind of age in college football that is basically free agency.
Were you surprised to see that, according to TJ Finley anyway, the level of interest that Alabama appears to have in him, the LSU transfer, based on his comments to Hank South, our recruiting analyst there at BamaOnline.com, or with the numbers being what they are, it's sensible in a way, at least in terms of another quarterback, whether it's Finley or someone else, perhaps coming on board. But as you said earlier, you're still trying to make all these numbers work too.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised to see that. I thought Hank did a good job of getting that interview and getting those quotes from him. But, it's a situation to where we've heard Nick Saban talk throughout the spring. He's mentioned it on a couple of appearances, since spring practice about the quarterback position, and he continues to say good things about Bryce Young. I don't think that's really the concern, but he talks about the need to develop backups. And while I think that Paul Tyson, improved, I think Jalen Milroe showed significant improvement from his first practice to last when he was able to be on the field. You can never have enough quality quarterbacks on the roster, and Nick Saban likes to have or to sign one quarterback each year in terms of a recruiting class. And right now, when you look at it, you have several recruiting classes on campus, but only 3 scholarship quarterbacks. So it makes sense for them to at least gauge interest. In terms of TJ Finley, you're leaving a situation at LSU where you're competing for a spot already. You're not guaranteed it. So it seems like Alabama might not be the place you would lean toward, but who knows? Maybe he thinks he can compete with Bryce Young. I think Bryce has a really strong hold on the starting job right now. Of course, things can change. Competition is still ongoing, all of that. But it was interesting to read nonetheless. But I think it's obviously going to be something to keep watch of moving forward, because I think until the SEC formally announces what they're going to do from an interconference transfer rule, we probably won't hear anything from TJ in terms of the final decision.
And I guess with Finley, because it was a free year in 2020, you could almost view him as a freshman quarterback that you're looking at bringing in. And perhaps, you look at this guy in terms of his physical makeup, the size, the arm strength, things like that. I'm sure he could be intriguing to a lot of teams out there. But yeah, as much as you read that update, and obviously Nick Saban is always seeking to up the competition in every area of his football team for 2021 and probably 2022 at least. This looks to be Bryce Young's football team. Charlie, I know here in the last couple of days with us at BamaOnline.com, you have given us 10 Alabama juniors to know in 2021. And my initial thought was, wow, this list is going to be really defensively heavy. And there certainly is a strong defensive presence on the list. Probably more offensive guys than I anticipated. But when you really get into it, it's a pretty balanced group. I guess a little bit of an edge to the defense where the junior class is concerned.
It is, yeah. And I'll tell you, whittling this down to 10 was one of the hardest things I've done this offseason, just because I could have almost done, 18 to 20, because I think the junior class is going to be the biggest pool of contributors for this team. I think the sophomores are, they're up there. But these guys, you look at just, we're talking about the corners earlier. You have to mention a guy like Jalen Armour-Davis because of the spring that he had. You have both expected starting safeties in Jordan Battle and DeMarco Hellams. You have 3 defensive linemen that are going to get first-team reps in DJ Dale, Justin Aboigbe, and Byron Young, and I couldn't include all of those guys. You have a couple of returning starters along the offensive line, and Emil Ekiyor and Evan Neal. You have the alpha there on the defense, and Christian Harris, who we talked about a little bit before. You have John Mechie, who's going to be the number 1 receiver at a position Alabama needs to have a step up this season. And then that's not even including guys like Toa Toa and Jamison Williams, who are going to come in and contribute as transfers. And I had to cut several players from this list. I think Cameron Latou is going to have a great season at tight end. Slade Bolden's going to be he's a light receiver, maybe even in the return game. Jaleel Billingsley is on the list, but it's just you go down and you could have easily done almost 20 of these guys. You're not including guys like Keelan Robinson, Will Reichard, the kicker. So I think the juniors, it's a well-balanced group. It does lean a little bit heavy to the defense, but it shows that the senior class is small, even though there's some key contributors there. But I think the juniors are going to be, some of the main leaders and some of the biggest contributors for Alabama this fall.
Yeah, real emphasis right up the middle of that defense, right? With Christian Harris and some of those guys who took some lumps, frankly, in 2019 as true freshmen. Now you're seeing the benefit of that as they show up on lists like this one that Charlie has for us there at BamaOnline.com. 10 juniors to know in 2021 for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We're talking with Charlie Potter, does an outstanding job covering the Alabama Crimson Tide for us there at BamaOnline.com. So, Charlie, what are you most anticipating next? Is it vacation? Is it SEC Media Days? What are we talking about on your own personal sort of mile markers to another college football season?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to SEC Media Days being back. It's nice to be able to just drive 45 minutes to Hoover and cover all 4 days. I didn't love it when it was in Atlanta, and of course we've had a hiatus now because of the pandemic. But it'll be good to get back and to see how that works. Post-COVID, really. But yeah, I mean, the month of June is when I try to, kind of cut loose a little bit, maybe, get out of town. And it seems like a lot of other people are trying to do that, though, too, because the wife and I, this is our 5-year wedding anniversary this year in the middle of June. And we had wanted to go up to the Pacific Northwest, but I'll tell you, the flights up there are expensive. I feel like everybody else has our same idea. So we're trying to think of something. We're gonna do something to celebrate, to get out of town. But that's right now. The past probably this week, my nights have been filled of scrolling Airbnbs and Marriotts to see what we can do.
5 years, man. That's a nice accomplishment. Congratulations to you guys. As for the immediate future with Alabama athletics, we've talked about it all week. Big for both the baseball and softball teams. Tough one for Alabama baseball last night. Had an opportunity going into the later innings of that one and couldn't quite hold on. And what are you thinking in terms of Alabama's projectability where an NCAA regional is concerned for baseball right now?
Yeah, we talked about on the podcast. I feel like they had to win one game to feel a little more comfortable. Looking at some projections, some have them just on the outside looking in. So to steal a win from Mississippi State would be big. And then obviously you have Hoover coming up, and to show well there, I think is important. So it sounds like they're going to open up the Joe for some more people. They're going to let some fans go into the right field terrace that aren't students, and they could get squirrely.
Civilians out there.
Yeah. But no, it should be an exciting weekend here in Tuscaloosa with the softball regional. They're opening up capacity over there too. So hopefully, both teams will be able to get some wins. And the baseball team though, again, it's just steal a win here. Maybe get a win or two in Hoover, and I think they'd be in much better shape.
Well, as always, Charlie, we appreciate the time here on Southern Fried Sports. Always look forward to our podcast there at BamaOnline.com as well. Have a great weekend, man. We'll catch up again soon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
There he goes, Charlie Potter, colleague there at BOL. Back with more of a Friday edition of Southern Fried Sports right here on Tide 100.9 FM right after this.
You're listening to Southern Fried Sports with BamaOnline.com senior analyst Travis Reier on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
I know a place. Ain't nobody crying.
Back with more of a Friday edition of Southern Fried Sports right here on Tide 100.9 FM. Travis Reier, senior analyst for BamaOnline.com. Thanks again to Charlie Potter joining us on a Friday. It is list season, and unfortunately, some folks take it upon themselves to try to rank the best restaurants in every Power 5 college town. There's an individual on Twitter who's been doing that of late. Looks like he or she is a Oklahoma fan, and the latest rankings are the best of, anyway, best Mexican restaurant in every Power 5 college town. And for Tuscaloosa, the selection is Taco Bell. What? I mean, come on.
It's the same one that said the best pizza was at Chuck E. Cheese.
Exactly. Best burgers, Hardee's. Best barbecue, Cookout. Yeah, so, I mean, that's the legitimacy of this individual. We got plenty. Tuscaloosa has plenty of quality Mexican outlets from which to choose on the culinary side of things. Taco Bell, not in that group. I am still heartbroken, though, by the closing of Chuy's. That broke my heart because that creamy jalapeno sauce beckons. I still have withdrawals for that creamy jalapeno sauce. We have in Alabama what I like to call Alamex instead of Tex-Mex, It's kind of like Alabama's own spin on Mexican. It's not what I would call authentic, Mexican fare, but it's ours. Good stuff. And it ain't Taco Bell, pal. Let's head to a final break. We come back. Pops on a Friday. He joins us when SFS returns on Tide 100.9 FM right after this.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Breezy and very warm this afternoon with a good supply of sunshine. The high 89. Fair tonight, the low 63. And the heat cranks up over the weekend. Mostly sunny tomorrow and Sunday. The high tomorrow 91. Sunday's high at 93. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 81 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Alabama touchdown.
Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
When I think back on all the crap I learned in high school.
You talk about an individual who could establish a groove
It's a wonder I can think.
for any song he was a part of. That was Roger Hawkins playing percussions here for Paul Simon back in the 70s on Kodachrome. Sad to learn yesterday that Roger Hawkins had passed away at the age of 75, one of the noted swampers from up there in the Muscle Shoals area. Just one of the original swampers left now, David Hood, Little David, bassist, father of Patterson Hood, co-founder, of course, of Drive-By Truckers. But we've been doing songs involving Roger Hawkins throughout the program today. I think this is one Pops likes pretty good. Pops a pretty good fan of 70s Paul Simon, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very good.
The Swampers Pops, as they were shouted out by your guy, Ronnie Van Zant in Sweet Home Alabama, the Swampers. Back in the day, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Pops, you know what's going on just outside Tuscaloosa tomorrow?
No.
They are having a concert to benefit coal miners that are on strike in the Brookwood area. And they're bringing in Mike Cooley from the Drive-By Truckers and Lee Baines the Third and the Glory Fires, and they're going to have a benefit concert for the union members there. You're a union guy, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Barbecue. They're going to have chili, free chili.
Well, I wish because if I was up there, I'd be getting some barbecue
You be going?
chili tomorrow.
You'd be going tomorrow? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You've been on a picket line, as I recall.
Yes, I've been on a picket line. More than
And
that.
I think it may have one time ended in controversy with you on a picket line, as I recall.
Yes. Those were the good old days, though.
Now, you were just walking the line and somebody tried to run you over. Is that right?
He actually accelerated when he got up to the line. And when he accelerated,
Pops.
that's when it all broke loose.
Now, I mean, what did you do? Did you jump up on top of the truck, or how did you?
I jumped up, straight up.
Straight up.
And he just went right under me, scooped me up right on the hood of the truck. And next thing I knew, I was straddling the hood, holding on to each side of the top of the cab, and he was trying to throw me off.
Unsuccessful though. You're like a rodeo cowboy
Yes,
on that
I
truck.
did. I kicked my flip flops off. I had flip flops on.
Oh gosh, flip
Kicked my
flops.
flip flops off and held on, and I said, if he ever stops this truck, it's going to be, oh my goodness. And he did. And he locked the door.
He
But
locked the
I kicked the
door
door-
on
I
you. He
kicked
didn't want
the
you
door
to
in.
get him out of the truck.
Yeah, I kicked the door with my bare feet.
Pops.
One thing led to another, and he finally cracked that door. And when he did, I got my hands on him.
You got hold of him? HOLT? Yeah.
And Whitey and Mullis had to pull me off of him.
Pops. Those were the days.
That was,
back in the day.
That was pre-Pops. That was before Pops was Pops.
Yeah,
That was Mean Gene days.
That was back in '83.
Wow. I remember it like it was yesterday, and it was 83.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Boy, Pops, in today's world, you'd have been all over social media. You would have gone viral with that.
Yeah.
There's been footage of Pops riding that hood of that truck, hanging on.
Yeah, he drove all over the parking lot trying to throw me off.
Now, was there any concern on your behalf about your employment as a result of that?
Oh, yeah, it was. But come to find out, the management, for some reason, they, I think they like me for whatever
They wanted to keep you around. Yeah.
And I sure appreciated it, too.
Yeah. Well, if it hadn't worked out, you could have gone into rodeo.
Yeah.
You could have broke bulls or broncos or something.
Been about the same, I'm telling you.
So there you go. There's the Pops picket line story, as promised. Hey, Pops, Tim Tebow official now with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Have you had Nana go online and get your number 85 jersey yet? Or are you doing home, away jersey? Or are you doing both jerseys, Pops?
Well,
for your boy?
I got my fingers crossed for the boy because I think he's going to need all the help he can get. But people here in Jacksonville, they really support Tim Tebow, and I wish him luck, but I don't know how he can pull this off.
I'm going to tell you how. It's Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is not going to cut his guy. Can you
That's
envision
his
Urban
neighbor.
Meyer
What can I tell
telling
you?
Tim Tebow it's over? I can't.
I know.
I think Tim Tebow's getting a year no matter what. It's a 1-year deal, and they may come to the agreement mutually at the end of it that that was nice, but that's it. But I don't see Urban telling Tim to bring his playbook in. I don't see that, Pops.
I know. I hear you. I wouldn't be surprised at all of that. I mean,
I think Urban, whereas Trent Baalke is the GM, I think Urban thinks he's still the biggest boy in that building down there on the banks of St. John's.
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt. Even
Trent, he looks at Trent Baalke as if Trent's his assistant.
Even the owner thinks that.
Yeah.
He's a man, They're gonna let him rule the roost.
Mm-hmm. You're a big softball fan. Will you watch a lot of the college softball this weekend?
Actually, I got Kentucky and Northwestern on right now.
Loves it.
And
loves the softball.
Girls softball. I never dreamed I'd watch girls softball, but I can't get over how well they play and can perform. And the game only lasts, an hour and a half?
Yeah.
You don't have to watch it all day.
It's the antithesis of baseball. Yeah.
Like baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But, Florida comes on in a little bit, I believe.
Yeah, Michelle Smith's going to be doing that broadcast. She was on our show yesterday.
Yeah.
A two-time Olympic gold medalist. Pops, in your athletic career, did you ever win any medals? Not trophies, but medals.
I don't know.
You were a wrestler?
I did win the local championship in wrestling, and all it was 2 matches. But I don't remember getting a medal or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. What weight did you wrestle at, Pops?
126. Can you believe it? 126.
Yeah. Good thing you put on some weight, Pops. I don't think you could have hung onto that hood of that truck at 126.
Lord.
I think you would have come off there.
I can't believe it. That I weighed 126 when I was a junior in high school. Mm-hmm. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so no medals. No medals for Pops that he recalls from his prestigious athletic career.
Yeah.
What was the biggest softball tournament you ever played in? Was it a national tournament? Was it, in your softball days?
Oh, it wasn't the tournament. It was a game that we played. The Bombers, Clearwater Bombers.
Clearwater Bombers. They were the New York Yankees.
I mean, they were every year the national champion back in the day. But it was just an honor just to play them, and they made you feel that way too. You know, they
got big crowds down there in Clearwater for the
it
Bombers
was packed
back in the day.
It was sold out.
3,000 or 4,000 people.
Sold out.
Yeah,
had their own stadium and everything. You know,
I remember you guys playing King in His Court. You know.
Yeah.
And you had the is it Eddie?
Eddie Feiner.
Yeah. He pitched, and then he only had like a catcher and 2 fielders with him, I believe.
Right.
And part of that, though, as he got older, was there was supposed to be a gentleman's agreement that the opponent would go with the gags. You know, they'd swing and miss when he'd throw a pitch or something. And I remember you guys not following the script and roughing up Eddie pretty good. He didn't appreciate that.
Our coach back in those days, he didn't care who we were playing.
Slick Watson. That was slick, wasn't it?
We weren't going to play along with him.
I don't think Eddie appreciated that.
He didn't. Well, they never came back to Jacksonville.
Yeah, that was Slick Watson, I think.
Slick. 9-1, I think the final score was. They had won.
Oh, jeez.
And Eddie didn't like that at all.
Yeah, they made a gentleman's agreement with a team lacking on the gentleman's side of it. You know, that's saying that one. All right, Pops. Have a great weekend.
All right, man. We'll talk at you later.
Goes. That's going to do it for Friday edition of Southern Fried Sports. For Pops, for Charlie Potter, Jacob Harrison doing a great job for us once again. The Lunch Whistle on a Friday. Southern Ale House, 1530 McFarland Boulevard North in the Indian Hills section of Tuscaloosa. Quick update, Southern Ale House now closed on Sundays. Going to give that staff a well-deserved break on Sundays. But every other day of the week, you're going to find the very best in lunch, dinner, happy hour. They had the outdoor entertainment last night. That gets underway Thursdays at 6 p.m. A lot of good stuff, as always, happening there at Southern Ale House. Until 11 a.m. on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.